I started Beautiful Bourbon by accident. On September 2nd, 2019, I took my first photo, and things kind of snowballed from there. Now more people see the Bourbcasts each week, and I continue to find myself in the blissful intersection of bourbon and photography. I'm KC, and I welcome you to enjoy this taste of beautiful bourbon. Hello. How's it going? What do you know? It is Thursday. It is 7:30, and I think I'm in the wrong spot. All I want to do is look at myself. There I am. Okay, good. And say hi. And there we go. Now I got to figure it out. Sorry about that. Okay. And I got to turn it down the rest of the way. All right. So, as you know, last week we took a little taste of Colonel Taylor as we started our series on BuffaloTrace. And I decided to set the scene a little bit differently. And I've got my BuffaloTrace products back behind me there. And some of those we're going to be attacking over the next few weeks. And some of those we're going to let sit. Blanton's we tried for Christmas time, and that broadcast didn't work out so well. The sound was horrible on it, and so we may incorporate that again at some point, but it's Blanton's, and I really don't feel like finishing the bottle. All right, so without further ado, I promised you last week that we would have a guest on the Bourbcast, and the guest that we were going to have on the Bourbcast was going to stick around. We were going to talk a little business. It was going to be fun. And the more I got him to drink, the more business he would give me, at least hopefully. And he wasn't able to do it after all. So, that does not mean that we are guestless. I would like to introduce you to one of my archery buddies. This is Titch.
Hello, everyone.
So his name is Jeff Tishner, and when we're shooting archery, we call him Titch, or Tish. And just tell him a little bit about yourself.
I mean, I've known KC, gosh, what is it now? About 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Met through shooting archery. Love the sport. Tremendous hobby. Currently, I'm actually a National Guard soldier as well. So I've been doing that for the last 12 years. I actually pack parachutes and jump out of airplanes there. Unfortunately, my wife actually could not be with us this evening as well. She's got a few things, but I've been married to a lovely wife named Brooke for the last 7 years, 12 years. Getting ahead of myself here. And I have 2 dogs at home named Sandy and Scrappy.
Very good.
Yep.
All right. And Brooke is an early go-to-bedder.
Yes.
Likes to go to
Yes,
bed like around 8 o'clock. I mean, there were times in my life that I thought, my spouse was going to bed early, but 8, that's early.
Yeah. She works hard. Definitely enjoys her sleep, as do I. I mean, normally I'm in bed anymore around 8:30, 9 o'clock due to being up at about 5 a.m. to go to work. So.
Right. Well, I can tell you that jumping out of planes is not something I have any aspiration to do.
Oh, it's fun. You should try it once.
I don't want to. I remember one time I was in radio, and I had an intern, Valerie, and we were on our way back into town. This is when the radio station was in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on our way back into town, and somehow or other we found out that there was something going on at the Ottawa airport that day, and she had the opportunity that she could jump out of a plane. And I'm like, I was her boss. She was an intern with the radio station. I was full-time. I was the assistant program director. So I had to make a decision, and I contacted the general manager. I said, do you care if she jumps out of a plane? We'll use it as a promotional activity. I don't care. Make sure she signs the waivers and blah, blah, so we're not liable if she dies.
Oh, yes.
So we signed the paper, or she signed the paper, and sure enough, jumped out of a plane, and I did a remote live broadcast at the same time, and she's still living to this day, as far as I know.
I mean, I just actually last Saturday was 63 jumps out of an airplane. Now, the type of skydiving that she did was what we call sport or civilian skydiving, where you actually get a little bit of free fall.
She was tandem.
Yes,
She had somebody.
she was attached to somebody. We are not attached to anybody, obviously. But what we do is it's called static lines. So once we jump out of the aircraft, about 6-ish seconds later, the parachute actually deploys on its own from a cord that is actually attached to the aircraft.
I just don't see any reason to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft. Not that any aircraft is perfectly good. Don't get me wrong.
I say, have you ever flown on a military vehicle? Or
No.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to.
There's a reason I know how to jump out of them.
They're a little bumpy, are they?
Just a little bit.
All right. Well, this is kind of a cool event for me. First of all, because this is the first time we've had a guest on Beautiful Bourbon. So, and we are socially distanced, although this is starting to go away. We are a good 7 feet apart, which is why we have 2 different cameras doing this. There will be a time that we'll set it up differently. This was a tough setup. This is a really tight space. So setting it up the way that I set it up has to be done with this like this, so we're not like 2 people on one camera at the same time. So that's the first thing. We have a guest, which is really, really cool. Get to bounce stuff off each other.
Yes.
The second thing that's kind of neat is, since we are doing Buffalo this is something that Jeff, as a relatively new bourbon drinker, has not tried yet.
That is correct. I mean, definitely one that I've been looking forward to, just never really got around to trying it at the time.
Now, so you're a new bourbon drinker. About how long do you think you've been drinking, and what was your influence to get started? Me?
To be honest, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, so my dad really enjoys Crown Royal. That is his drink of choice. And then I had a good friend of mine that actually turned me on to one that you did that was a recommendation from me, was Redbreast.
Oh, yeah.
And I started drinking that, and I fell in love with it. By far, to this day, probably one of my favorite whiskeys that I've had. And then I started listening to your Bourbcast, started talking to you more about bourbon and all that, and just kind of trying to jump more into it. So far, I really enjoy Angel's Envy. I actually just finished off my bottle of that. Thankfully, I have a spare in the house. Well,
that's because I told you. I said when you told me that you were going to buy that, I said you're going to want another one.
Yeah.
And you went back to base and got another one.
Yes. Actually, I'm pretty sure we've had numerous phone calls. Me standing in line at Kroger, going, "Hey, what do I want?" And you literally go through. You want this. Dude, I've only got so much money.
Yeah, that's been an issue with this little hobby. Let's get this opened.
That's a good song.
Yeah, we'll get it poured too. So while we were talking, we were talking about the Glencairn Glass, and while we were chatting it up before the show, he goes online and buys a bunch of Glencairn glasses.
I bought
4.
Brooke.
Sorry, Brooke.
I only bought 4.
All right, here's the first one. I'll hand this over to you.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. And now my turn. Nope, no early sniffing. It has to sit for a couple of minutes.
Hey.
We got to say hi to Tom, who's watching. Hi to Zach, who's watching as well. Hello to Aaron. Talking about COVID here, he said, we really don't need your COVID excuses. I know. But, we're still in it. And there's still people that are, like, crazy about it. Like, where did I go yesterday?
Walmart, Meijer.
No. I went somewhere was it yesterday or the day before, where I walked in and they got on me because I didn't have my mask on. And it's like, this is over. Who's wearing masks? And they're like, it's not over till June 7th. Oh, it was Frickers on Monday.
Oh.
I went into Frickers and they're like, no, the general manager wants you to wear a mask. So I held it over my face, walked to my table, and threw it down on the table. So I'm going to be really glad when this is all over. I know you will be too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, thankfully, work really doesn't, as long as we're in our own area, we're not really required, But,
right.
I mean, it's long overdue.
Well, I had to turn down a job the other day.
Oh, gosh.
They wanted me to do this job, and I I said, yeah, we can do it. It'll be really, really great. And they said, are you vaccinated? I'm like, no. Can't do it unless you're vaccinated. Guess can't do it.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't have anything against anybody who wants to get vaccinated, and we're not going to go political here. We're not going to talk about politics. But if you want to do it, do it. But for me, it's experimental, and there's people that are dying of the vaccine itself, and I've heard enough theories. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait until after things calm down, and then maybe I'll do it, because I've heard it's great medicine.
Yeah.
Just maybe the right medicine at the wrong time. So I'm just going to wait a while.
I mean, isn't your daughter kind of, hating her life a little bit right now?
Yeah, she got her second shot today. So, hey, my mom is watching. Now, for her, if I needed to, I would get a vaccine. She's 81 years old. Sorry, I just gave up your age, Mom. How old's your mom?
Oh, gosh.
Quid pro quo.
You put me on the spot here. Let's see, 70? 71?
70? 71?
71. Yeah.
So,
My
I
dad's
mean...
66.
Yeah, so she's getting up there a little bit, too.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So, now, we don't mean that as a pejorative, moms. We just had Mother's Day. We should be a little bit nicer.
I'm also half your age, though, too, almost. So,
Stop it. It's true, though. Didn't you just have a birthday?
Yeah.
So you turned
32.
32.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
This is the best way to do it, over
Yes.
bourbon.
Well, I got to jump out of a helicopter on that day, so,
Helicopters, too?
Yep. Yeah, I sent you the photo.
You did?
Yeah. I thought I sent you a photo.
I don't think you did. We'll do it later.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about BuffaloTrace. I got my cheat sheet here. But BuffaloTrace, this is an interesting thing. I found this out today. I didn't know this. But there are several bourbons in the BuffaloTrace family that all have basically the same ingredients. Doesn't mean they have the same recipe. They may be a different blend of these different things, but they use essentially corn, 51% corn for bourbon, rye, and they say less of the malted barley than you might expect, just for a little bit of added dash. But that exact same recipe that's in the BuffaloTrace is in the Colonel Taylor small batch, the George T. Stagg, which I've had and is incredible, and also the Eagle Rare. All the same recipe. It may differ a little bit, and the aging may be a little bit different, and where they put them in the barrels and the rick houses may be a little bit different, so they are different. But they're the same recipe, which blows my mind. So, BuffaloTrace, I'm going to give you a little history on BuffaloTrace. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a reason I watch your Bourbcast every week.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, BuffaloTrace actually is in a distillery that got its start in the 1780s. Long, long time ago. They were making the bourbon and shipping it down the Mississippi River to New Orleans.
Oh, way cool.
So and that went on for quite some time. And then in 1838, it sold to the Swigerts, and then again, just 21 years later, to the Clement and Ashton Craig, who you got to believe is part of the Craig family that does Elijah Craig.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I didn't research it any further than just the last name Craig. There's a lot of Craigs out there. It's possible that I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. Anyway, so it's passed hands a lot. After the Craigs had it, they sold it to E.H. Taylor in 1870. Then he revolutionized the industry and went broke because of it, by the way. Then he got his money back when he sold the OFC distillery to George T. Stagg. And then they sold it again in 1895 to W.B. Duffy, who renamed it the George T. Stagg Distillery. Why? I don't know. Maybe it was part of the deal. After that, believe it or not, now I did not know this, and I'm surprised by it, but George Dickel, which is the Tennessee whiskey that I continue to love to hate.
Yes. I've had it one time and haven't gone back.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But Dickel moved into the distillery in 1940, But it was only there a short time. They moved back to Tennessee in 1958. They probably should have stayed there.
Yeah, probably.
They would end up gotten purchased. So
Yeah.
then the distillery in 1982 was sold to an investment group out of New York. And then sold to the Gold Ring family in 1992. Gold Ring family, you might know as a better name, which is the Sazerac company that owns BuffaloTrace today. In 1992, they changed the name of the distillery to BuffaloTrace. Somebody touring the place said, "Why isn't there a bourbon called BuffaloTrace?" And they went, "Why isn't there a bourbon called BuffaloTrace?" And they made BuffaloTrace. This is the namesake. It is the, what do they call it when it's the lead ship and...
The flagship.
The flagship. This is the flagship product. So you would know, you're a military man. This is the flagship product, and this is what we're going to try tonight. And it is set long enough. Aaron is talking. None of this seems to be the same BuffaloTrace tells on their tours. This is where I got the story, Aaron. They told me that this on the internet, and the internet knows all. It's on their website and a bunch of other things. So, yeah. All right. So, we start off with the nose. Right now, why do we use the Glencairn Glass, new guy? Oh, let me go back to this.
I'm probably going to butcher this, but you're probably going to correct me on it. From what I remember, is it helps the nose actually be able to reach your nose. Or the scent, I'm trying to explain this, versus
what
using...
we call the snoot.
Yes, the snoot versus using a giant glass like so.
Like so. Yeah, right. So the tighter top concentrates the flavors.
Yes.
Or the scents. And as you tip your nose in, as you take a drink, the nose will pick up more because of the shape of the glass.
Yes.
So we're going to go with the Glencairn Glass tonight. I was watching the E.H. Taylor live video that they had just a couple of days ago.
Oh, wow.
And they use Glencairn glasses to taste that. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So start off with the nose. Now tell me what you think you smell. Now again, it's not a literal thing.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually adding those ingredients to the bourbon. This is just your senses and what you think you might smell, what it reminds you of, what it conjures up.
I almost smell like a little vanilla and caramel into it.
Yeah. I get pepper.
Yes, I'm getting the pepper.
I'm getting the cinnamon strong. I'm also getting like a darker spice, like an allspice.
I've never actually smelled allspice, so I'm going to trust you on that one. But
Okay.
The second you said cinnamon, I'm like, ooh, there it is.
There's a little nutmeg in it. To me.
I don't bake enough to do.
Well, I was reading a tasting about something the other day. It's like, where did that come from? Who eats that? It's like, what are you talking about? But then again, I described old number 7 last, Monday?
Monday, I think.
As having an aftertaste of old rubber. So, I mean, like a tire. How would I know what a tire tastes like? I've never chewed on a road tire, so.
Are you sure?
I don't think
You've done
I
a lot
have.
of crazy things in your life.
I have. I've been around a while. So the tasting notes that I got from various different sites say instantly likable. Is this instantly likable to you? Do you like it?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
All right. So instantly likable, pleasant with notes of caramel. It says honey. I'm not. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. There's a little honey on there. I get that. Orange and vanilla. Can't say I have orange. Do you have orange?
I don't really have orange.
Okay.
The honey is very, very faint.
Yes.
If you're getting anything at all.
It's there.
But that caramel and vanilla really pops out right as you take that first sniff.
Now really shove your nose down there. Tell me if you get butterscotch.
Just a faint.
Yeah.
Almost like that honey.
Yeah, like the honey. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the honey's trying to take over that butterscotch a little bit.
Yeah, it's in there. I get it.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things that once somebody suggests it to you, it's easier for you to find it. Finding it on your own may be a little bit tougher, but once somebody suggests it, that's why I do this. That's why when we do the tastings, I tell you what I'm tasting, so that way if you have Buffalo Trace with you, hey, Charles! Charles is coming to us from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, nice.
So, Charles, I hope you have your Buffalo Trace, or at least something to drink along with us. So, that's the hope. All right. So, we've given it the nose.
Yes.
Now, what I've learned to do, my buddy Aaron, who is criticizing us online,
Yeah.
he has told me that the way that they do it at Buffalo Trace is they tell you to take the sip, just a sip, and hold it on your tongue for 12 seconds. Now, what you're going to pay attention to is that bloom, that burn from the center of your tongue that goes out.
Yes.
And what that's going to do is it's going to condition your mouth to accept a real tasting after that. At Buffalo Trace, they do it several times. We're going to do it twice. We're going to do it once to acclimate your mouth, and the second time is for an actual taste. You ready?
Dude, I'm in the Army. I can't count to 12.
Well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
We'll try.
Here we go. Okay. Now, I will tell you what my sense of that was, but you tell me first.
Extremely smooth. I mean, for being a newer bourbon drinker, that was honestly was one of my biggest fears getting into drinking bourbon and especially like whiskey. I mean, I hate to say it, but I was the standard kid that drank Jack and Cokes all the time and thought that was great, or put everything on the rocks, and then here just probably the last year and a half or so started drinking things neat, and the flavor profile from on the rocks to neat is completely different, but just the whole overpowering was one thing that scared me, and finding out that good bourbons are actually extremely smooth and don't have that bite that we call is really like quite incredible.
Well, one of the things that I found is the longer it sits in the barrel, the more it can mellow out.
Yes.
This is a little over 90 proof, so it's not like Taylor that's 100 proof but still smooth, or George Stagg that's even higher than that but still smooth. This is in the 90s, but it's still a very, very smooth pour.
Oh, yes.
Now, the rumor is that this sits in the barrel between 8 to 10 years. They will not reveal the mash bill. And maybe this because it's the same recipe that they do in all these other ones, but they don't reveal the percentages. They tell you what's in it as far as corn and rye and malted barley, but they don't tell you what the bill is, what the actual recipe is. But I did find out today that it's normally barreled between 8 and 10 years, with the average being about 9.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So it sits in there a while.
It's a long time to wait to drink.
It is, and it's amazing too, because to be a bourbon, it only has to be barreled for 2 years. Yeah. Now you'll have an age statement accompanying this. This has no age statement, but the research that I did today said between 8 and 10 years, normally about 9.5. It has to be 4 years to get away with no age statement. A bunch of this stuff back here has been aged, 4, maybe 6 years, but this 8 to 10. So, all right, we've had our first taste. Now let's give it the second one.
Yes.
So, that second one doesn't have to sit in your mouth for 12 seconds.
Yeah.
But I do leave it in there so I can get a good sense of it. I can swish it around a little bit, let the different parts of my tongue, let different parts of my mouth taste it. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that the caramel is still strong, the vanilla is still strong, but I'm getting more honey.
Yeah.
You are too?
Yep. I'm getting more honey, and that butterscotch actually snuck up just a hair more into there.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, the tasting notes that I have, no, Aaron, it's not hot. It's not a hot bourbon at all. I mean, it's got some spice to it, but it's not what I would call a hot bourbon. There are some that are hotter, much hotter. Even that George T. Stagg had a bit of a bite that you and I had. this is a really, really smooth bourbon. And everybody, all the reviews I got online, one person called this their entry-level bourbon. I don't think that I would go that far because they do also have Benchmark and a couple of other ones, and Benchmark is like an 80 proof. It's like a bottom shelfer, but they make that one, and what's the other one? Ancient Age. I don't know if they actually make that, but it's the same mash bill as Blanton's. It's just not aged as long. That first 12 seconds. Oh, well, in this case, Aaron, that first 12 seconds, I didn't get that bloom. What about you, Jeff? Did you get that bloom on the tongue?
I got more of a bloom on the second one.
Did
honestly.
you?
Yeah. The first one, I mean, I could feel it coming out. The second one really sat there, especially when it was kind of sitting on the tip of my tongue for a little bit more.
Right.
You know, I really got more of that bloom on the second sip.
Did you move it around a little bit? Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So the tasting notes that I'm getting here says sweet and mellow with notes of brown sugar. I didn't get brown sugar. Did you get brown sugar?
Just a hair.
Really?
Very, very minute.
Okay.
But I also really, really like brown sugar. I love candying bacon and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I make a good candied habanero bacon.
You know, I said that I thought it reminded me of, what was the spice?
Allspice.
Yeah, there was another one.
Nutmeg?
Nutmeg. So what was nutmeg on the nose is toffee on the tongue.
Ooh.
Just very lightly.
Yeah.
But the caramel for me stands out. The oak from the barrel is nicely blended with everything else. It's not jumping out at me like, ah, you got splinters in your tongue. Ah.
No, I'm getting a lot of that oak, especially on like an exhale through my nose after the sip.
Right, so
Yeah,
that would
you-
be the finish.
Yes, the finish.
Right.
Yeah.
Which they say has a nice moderate length, and it does.
Oh, yeah.
They say, that, and this is what you're getting, they say that the finish really opens up and develops and ultimately ends out of your nose, which I can agree with.
Yeah.
It's the funny thing about bourbon, because different bourbons will activate different parts of your face.
Yeah.
I had one that didn't give me any bloom at all on the tongue, but it gave me a lot of bloom on the roof of my mouth and in my cheeks.
No.
It was the weirdest thing.
Which one was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch the videos again. I do not remember. So now the next thing to do is to try this with a little bit of water. So I don't know if you've had the opportunity to do this. Have you had the opportunity to mix with water with anything?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in order to do this, oh, by the way, this is now my bottle. I have one specially for you. You get this one. No, I'm joking. I found this little BuffaloTrace bottle. Isn't this the cutest little thing?
Gosh, I see how it is. I bring you gin,
Hey.
and you give me that.
Well, the Bourbcast I'm
kidding.
not actually going to give it to you.
I know.
All right, so let me pour a couple more here. I'm just going to go a little bit up because the first pour, I still have the cork off. All right.
I mean, that's a good problem to have.
Yes, it'll breathe a little bit. So we'll just go up to right about, let me have yours is right
Yep.
there. Like, within reach. How convenient. Okay,
I had to really stretch to get that to you.
there we go. All right, so now, I got to take the cap off of this. Hardy's a toss-up, or Handy? That Handy was good. That rye was spicy. I know you liked it, which is I didn't expect because you don't like spicy stuff, Aaron. So I was surprised you liked that. That stag, though, for me, that won out everything. Oh, I want to tell you something else that happened. I don't know what to think of this, but yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, but I think it was yesterday. That's how much I drink. I don't remember day after day.
No, that's just old age.
Oh, is it? Thanks. I had a dram of Colonel Taylor. Just a little sip. I was watching that Colonel Taylor video, and they were drinking Colonel Taylor, and it made me want some.
Oh, yeah.
So I had an early dram of Colonel Taylor. And then Aaron got on me because he thought that I was going through my bottle too quickly. So I thought, all right, I'll switch to Kentucky Owl. I might like Kentucky Owl better.
I've never even heard of that one.
It's back here. That's Kentucky Owl.
Oh.
This is a little bit easier to find, but it's a lot more expensive in the regular market.
I'm sure.
But we did this just recently, and it's delicious. But head to head yesterday, I got to do it again. I got to do it again. But Kentucky Owl for me was, it may be better than Colonel Taylor. All right, so there's my little bit of water. And Titch, here's yours.
Thank you, sir.
So what we do then is give it a little swirl, get it working. You're going to find something good this weekend. Yeah, Aaron has been down to BuffaloTrace like a bunch of times without me. Doesn't even invite me, just goes. Just says, oh, I'm going. Well, thanks for the invite. I'd like to go.
Dude, I just said let's go on a trip to Indiana to go to a distillery, and you're like,
No, I'll go
I'm
to
driving
that.
4 hours, I'm going to Louisville, so, you know.
I'll go to that. We'll just go to Louisville as well.
Yes.
We'll just go down, and because I want to go back to Angel's Envy and see if I can get my hands on any of the special stuff they got down there.
I
And
would love to go to Angel's Envy.
I know the distillery is really not very impressive. It's nice, but I need to tour it. I haven't toured any of them, and I'm not going to tour it as long as I got to wear a mask because that just seems like not much fun. I want to be able to smell the casks, smell the wood. I want to do all that. I can't do that with something covering my face. All right, so give it a good twirl here.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that really mellowed that nose down a little.
Mm-hmm. So if there's any ethanol in the nose, it's going to definitely take it down.
Yeah.
The nose is not easy to find on this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
In the Glencairn glass, it helps, but if you're doing this in like, a rocks glass, old-fashioned glass, if you're doing it in like the Bourbon Trail glasses, that nose is going to be even harder to find. Glencairn is a lot easier. That's where it's at. It's Angel's Envy, he says, is a letdown.
As far as the distillery goes, or?
Aaron, did you actually take the distillery tour, or did you just go to the gift shop like I did? Now, it's going to be a little bit of a delay before we hear back from them.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so...
First world problems, right?
yeah, right. Internet lag.
Well, what everybody missed earlier was KC, like, completely freaking out with 4 minutes to go, resetting his router. And I'm over here like, can I have a drink?
It never fails. We're about to start the Bourbcast and something goes wrong with the internet signal. And I've got this little monitor down here that tells me that we have a good signal or we don't have a good signal. And I was getting oranges and reds, and that's not going to work. So at the last second, we had what? How many minutes did we have?
I think you started with 7 and ended with about 2.5.
Went in and reset the router, reset the modem, reset the router, and now we're getting double the speed, and it's working great because for the first time ever, I'm running this Bourbcast with 2 cameras, and it takes up a lot of bandwidth. And the machine, I had to buy new gear this week just to be able to run 2 cameras for the Bourbcast. I'm serious about this fun. I'm serious about the fun that I have.
Yes, we all know you are. I'm pretty sure you were jumping through the roof yesterday when you called me and said, hey, you want to come over and do a Bourbcast? My guest fell through.
So Aaron is saying, yeah, we went through it. Not much for the history. It's all kind of new. It is new. It's a new distillery. It's only been around for a little bit.
Yeah.
But and New Riff is another one that may be the same way. New Riff up in Bellevue. Right next to the Party Source, just south of Cincinnati. I'd like to tour that place. I love their bourbon, but you're talking about 4-year bourbons. They are starting to have enough stock now that New Riff is going to have more, and BuffaloTrace is doing what they can to address the deficits in their inventory as well. They're building and building and building, and it's going to take 10 years before we see the benefit of it, though.
Yeah. Well, we all know nothing to help alcohol sales like a pandemic, right? Stay home and drink.
I gotta say, I do appreciate one thing our governor did in letting us go out to a bar and buy and bring it back home
Yes.
again. He did that right.
The take-home cocktails was probably one of the smartest things he did.
And they're not going away.
No.
And a lot of states, including Kentucky now, you can order online.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't buy it from Ohio and have them ship it to me because the Ohio Secretary of State decided to make that difficult. And the Attorney General.
Don't worry, I'll get you an address for somebody. We'll ship it to their house, and I'll pick it up in Indiana.
Woohoo! There you go. I like the way that sounds. Shh. All right, so we got a little water in there. Give it a twirl. Let's try it. Okay, yeah, same old thing.
Yep. Aaron just giving you a hard time.
What are you picking up now that it's changed?
That honey jumped out.
Yeah, didn't it? And the butterscotch for me, it got a lot sweeter on water.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. Did you add sugar to this?
No, this was not simple sugar. This was just water that I put in, but it definitely changed the expression of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it changed it for the better in certain ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the bloom definitely was, a lot more mellow on that side of it. I mean, versus, that bloom, like I said, off the first one, it was kind of like, okay, there it is. The second one was like, oh, hello, there it is. This one was a lot more like even more mellow than the first one I had.
Yeah, and water will do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take that bloom out. It'll take that ethanol burn out. So now, since the camera's on me right now, could I get you to do me a little favor?
Of course.
Because for me to do this,
Grab the ice balls?
Yeah. The ice spheres are in the first freezer on top of the fridge in my little cuppy thing. Because I darn well forgot them again. But the nice thing about having a guest is that I don't have to leave the camera's view to go get them.
You mean it's right above the turkey leg?
Right above the turkey leg. Turkey fan. Thank you. Ooh, golly, that's cold. All right, so.
It's been in a freezer. What'd you expect?
Just for like an hour, but good night. That's cold. All right, so let's just do this first. Let's just finish this up because you're not going to want to put ice on something that you put water on.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back over to you.
Yeah, sure. Why? So you can slug it?
I'm not going to slug it. I'm going to taste it.
Uh-huh.
They've seen me every week for, 5 months, almost 6 now?
Something like that.
So I'm sure they're ready to see somebody different. So
ooh, that butterscotch really jumped off the palate there.
Yeah, that and the honey, and I'm actually getting a slight sense of citrus.
Yeah. It almost reminded me of, like, one of those Werther's. The Werther's caramels.
Yeah.
Like that. It was just nice and smooth. That butterscotch kind of goes, hi, I'm here.
So that's why they add water, because they say that it opens it up and it accentuates the flavors and brings more out. So I've started doing that of late.
Yeah.
And, I've enjoyed the different expression that it gives me. But now, time for an ice sphere. You ready for that?
Yeah. But, I mean, even with the water, like, that's something for, like, somebody like me, a year ago. Obviously, now I really enjoy things neat. But getting newer into bourbon or trying some bourbons for the first time, water will definitely really tone down a lot of that ethanol that gives you that, oh, hi, that burned, which...
Well, it also helps release a few of the other flavors. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine is diehard about putting water on Woodford Reserve. I have yet to do it.
Sounds interesting.
But now that I've started doing it and seeing what it does, I find myself more in favor of giving that a shot.
Oh, yes.
So Woodford, that's a different beast. Aaron hates Woodford.
I'm sure he's going to tell us about it in about 15 seconds.
My Kentucky Turkey fan is just about dry. I'll send you pictures. It's turning out nice. Well, good. Mine's still in the freezer from last year. All right, so I did something special for you, Mr. Tishner.
Oh, gosh.
I made you your very own fresh ice sphere.
Hey.
This came out of the freezer.
So are these actually frozen
yesterday.
on like the...
These came out yesterday, and I made new ones yesterday that are still in the freezer now. So now, here's the fun part. And I'm going to let you pour your own. And I normally take it right up to this rim here when it's on a sphere. But watch how it clarifies. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So
They
make
can't
sure
see
that
your fat finger was in the way.
Oh, was it? So when I'm going to move the camera over, so when they see it, make sure they see it so they can see, right? Watch it go clear when he pours the liquid on it. Look at that. Oh, isn't that gorgeous?
Wow. That is incredible.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
I love these things.
And it's not going to melt as fast.
Well, I mean, we were talking about these, about a year ago I think we were at Lipstick. Weren't we doing an archery shoot? And we were talking about clear ice, and I literally, just like I did with the Glencairn Glass, my wife hates my Amazon addiction because of you sometimes. But, I literally went out and ordered the
mold that I have?
the mold for making 2 of them. And I still remember the first time I put that in the freezer. What is this thing doing in the freezer? What is this? I'm throwing this thing out. Don't you touch that.
Well, it's gotten worse for me because there is a new one that I want.
Oh, gosh.
I know. They're back ordered, so I can't get it.
That's probably a good thing.
Yes, I know. And it's not cheap, but it does 4, maybe 6. I'd have to go back and look. 6 ice spheres at a time. Mm-hmm. The big ones like this. And then if I want to do small ice spheres, it'll do like a dozen, maybe 16 at a time.
Oh.
Yeah. So I want
did
that.
find out one thing about doing those ice spheres, especially using the mold that we have, where you stick it down in the little compartment. I have an electric kettle that sits on my countertop at all times. Well, if you boil water, because it wants it warm water, if I boil it and just let it sit for like a minute or 2 after it finishes boiling, I get a much more consistent ice sphere, and it's a lot more clear coming out. You don't really get that whole, like you can almost see through it literally just pulling it out of the mold.
Wow.
Yeah.
This gets, I think, a little bit cloudy when I let it sit in the freezer for a day.
Yeah. Now, doing the whole boiling water, you do have to let it sit for probably a good 48 to 50 hours. Versus the whole 24 to 36.
I think 36 is about the longest I let mine sit. And even then, I still have ice blocks in the bottom of the mold, which my son really likes.
Hey, I break those things up and, I'll use them for a pop or something.
Put the wood in the fire? Not sure what he's talking about there. Put the wood in the fire.
Woodford Reserve.
Oh. It's a shame. It's a shame. Woodford Reserve for a long time was my favorite pour. I don't know that it is now. I will have to go back to it. But for the longest time, that was my favorite pour. Neat, by the way.
By the way, Aaron, if you look over his, what would that be, your right shoulder? It's like right there. Yeah, right next to that giant head of his. It's right there. Sorry, buddy, I had to.
Yeah, so my Woodford is back there. That's a little bottle that I bought for a very specific purpose. And that
it also happens to be sitting in front of one of my favorite whiskeys of all time.
The red breast?
Yes.
So it's sitting there not drank because my special purpose is not there anymore. So I will drink it again in some way, sometime. Just because I damn well feel like it.
Hey.
All right, so this has been sitting on ice for a little bit. All right. You're not going to get much nose. Taste the nose. Go to the nose first.
There's almost none.
Mm-hmm. So when it's cold, when it's cooled down, the nose disappears a lot. It's still there, but
oh god, that butterscotch and caramel though, just hello. Like I feel like I just sipped or tasted a Werther's. I mean that those Werther's honestly by far my favorite candy, and I don't eat a lot of sweets.
Right.
But like that just it reminds me of going to my grandparents' house. They always had that bowl of Werther's sitting there. And it was just, gosh, these things are good.
Now, is that the Werther's toffee or the Werther's caramel?
The caramels.
The caramels. Okay.
Yeah, the ones the caramel in the center too. So when you actually bite into it after it softens up a little bit, you get the caramel to drip out of it. Oh, those things are delicious.
I don't know if I've ever had that. I've had the toffee.
Oh, I'm gonna have to bring you one.
Oh.
Next archery shoot we go to, I'll bring you one.
Just
Which-
one, because, I'm watching my weight, trying not to balloon up like I was before.
Dude, I'll give you 20 pounds. I mean, come on.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I like the way I am right now. I like this. And I got a ways to go down again here. So what do you think on the ice?
Dude, it's honestly, I prefer it neat better.
Well, that's normal.
But it's just...
But it is still good.
it's
It's got a
insanely-
refreshing
yep.
side to it.
Oh,
If
yes.
you wanted to do it on ice, there's going to be a segment of people who
Yep.
are going to want to do it that way,
yeah.
and they can feel happy that it's still good. Now, would you use this in the cocktail?
No. I was going to say no. I mean, it's not one that I would mix.
No, and there's no reason to.
yeah.
If you're going to make a cocktail, then you want to
Old
use
number 7.
You use Old Number 7, or you use Old Granddad,
Yep.
or you use Ancient Agent Age, or you use Larceny, or
I mean, my go-to bourbon mixer for any cocktail, especially like a Louisville Mule, or I got a little crazy and I tried like bourbon and ginger ale because it sounded good at the time. I was like, let's try it. Actually worked out really well. You smash some raspberries up with a Louisville Mule. Also, is Old Granddad bonded, that 100 proof. I mean, for $30 a bottle, you can't beat it.
well, that's the thing about two things you need to know. First of all, Jeff cooks. He's Chef Titch. All right. So I mean, I cook. He cooks.
I try.
So he knows, and he's going to think about adding those different elements like raspberries to a drink.
To be completely honest, that was my wife.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's
she
good.
was making Moscow. She was making a Moscow Mule, and she's like, "I want raspberries in it." And so I've got a buddy. His name is Leland. Honestly, if you think I can cook, you need to meet this guy. I mean, he phenomenal cook. One of my best friends. And he was like, "Oh well, let's So he muddled up raspberries with a little bit of sugar in there for her, and she fell in love with it, and some peaches for hers. And I said, you know what? Let's try some raspberries in a Louisville Mule. And me and him literally sat there and downed a bottle of Old Granddad 100 proof.
It's really neat to think about adding that fruit to a mule. I've made a mule on the show, and I've had a mule. I remember I was in Louisville.
You were where I got the idea from.
Yeah, so it was 2 Octobers ago.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up this October will be 2 Octobers ago, and I was greeted at the door of the hotel with my client who brought me a Louisville mule. Meh, meh, meh. And I was like, "Oh, this is good."
Yeah.
And I've got ginger beer all over the house. I've got it in the fridge. I've got it upstairs. I got it everywhere.
Yeah.
So we can make it anytime you want. But tonight, our bourbon was BuffaloTrace. So, Titch, I'm going to come back to you, and you get to tell me, what do you think? Neat, then on water, and then on ice.
I mean, neat definitely, is my way to go for it. Just me personally. I mean, I was the one that I always used to drink things on ice. I had to drink it on the rocks. Never trying it on water before definitely changed that palate tremendously. I mean, that butterscotch and that honey jumped out. With ice, like I said, it tasted like I was at my grandparents' house having that Werther's. It brought back memories. But I mean, neat as far as I go, is definitely the way that I would drink this. Phenomenal drink.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is his first chance to try BuffaloTrace. I've had this bottle a little while, and when I decided I was going to do a BuffaloTrace flight for the Bourbcast this month, it just made sense. So next week, we'll be doing the Sazerac Rye. Here. I only have 2 bottles of this. So
That's shocking.
it will be a bit of a scary thing to open up a bottle and have the Sazerac. I've not had this. I've had as Sazerac, which is a different type of bourbon drink that has has absinthe in it and a bunch of other stuff. But this is Sazerac Rye. This is named after the company that owns BuffaloTrace. So this will be next week. And then the week after that, Eagle Rare. What?
I'm gone. I'm not going to be here.
You're
You
doing
literally
Army stuff?
Yes, you told me on Monday, hey, you can come over. I looked at my calendar. I'm like, aw.
Aaron is noticing the Legent that I had behind me.
Ah.
So I mentioned the Legent to you
Yes.
before we got started here tonight because you like Angel's Envy.
Yes.
Well, Legent is another wine. It is a blend of American bourbon and Japanese whiskey.
Ooh.
And Aaron believes, excuse me, that it tastes a little bit like cherry Coke. I disagree because I can't stand cherry Coke.
He says Legion tastes like cherry Coke.
Yes.
Aaron, if you like cherry Coke, me and you might be friends. I really like cherry Coke.
We've given what we needed to do as far as the bourbon. We like it neat. We like it on water. And quite frankly, it's good on ice too. It's
Yep.
got a refreshing side on ice. Buffalo Trace is the flagship of the distillery, Buffalo Trace.
By the way, the cork's not on that. Don't spill it.
I'm just going to drink it right out of it.
Please don't do that. I would like another one.
All right, we can do that. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening to us. We've been here for a little while. And I try not to let it go this long, but by golly, having a guest was fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week as we are doing the Sazerac Rye. That's a tough one, guys. I don't know that you're going to be able to find a Sazerac Rye in the state of Ohio before the next Bourbcast. So
I know where to find one.
Huh?
I know where to find one.
Where?
Your house.
So, find a rye that you like, and we'll drink it together next week as I taste the Sazerac. And then the week after that, Eagle Rare. So you know what the marching orders are. You know what you need to find in the next couple of weeks. Sazerac Rye, if you can. If not, pick another one. I like the Knob Creek Rye. I like the Bullet Rye. I like Willet is now in Ohio. Get that one. There are a lot of ryes out there that are really good. The one, Rittenhouse, that's a lower shelf rye, but it's really good, especially if you're going to put it in a cocktail, which we're not going to do while we're doing Buffalo Trace products. We're not going to do cocktails at all during Buffalo Trace. So if you get the opportunity to pick those up or something that you can drink along with us, that'd be great. In the meantime, I'm going to thrive off your shares. I'm hoping that you share this Bourbcast and the schedule that we put up of all the live Bourbcasts that are to come. Share our Instagram page, which is Instagram at Beautiful Bourbon. Share our blog, beautifulbourbon.com. We're on Gab. We're on YouTube. I'm slowly but surely starting to put these things on YouTube. So do share what we're doing. We only grow and influence more people if you help. So please do so. I will see you next week with Sazerac Rye right here on Beautiful Bourbon. Thank you so much.